So let's breathe. And release what is ours to let go of right now. As we stay in this place of letting our hearts go deeper, our souls go deeper, into our own God, into our own sacredness, into our own divinity, into our own still small place where we can hear what is just for us. This morning we will be spending some time with the idea of stretching out our hand to invite the universe, God, sacredness into our lives. So let's take that idea of stretching out your hand to invite into a couple of minutes of silence. As we return our awareness to this place and time, we do so knowing the peace of the place we just were is ours. It's ours at any moment we wish it to be. We just need to make the space and invite. So we remember right now this notion of stretching out our hands to invite. We give thanks for our ability and our willingness to invite into our lives. And we give thanks for all that is, and so it is. Amen.
Amen.
So we're staying with Butterworth still this month. Some of us are still reading this book, Discover the Power Within You, and I know some of you have read it in the past. It's a Butterworth classic. And so that's where the idea for this talk comes from today. Stretch out your hand. But the first thing I want to do, the first thing is turn this on. There. So stretch out your hand. The first thing I want you to do is to pair up with someone. Just look at them and know that you're a pair. And I think we have even numbers, so I think we can be pairs. We don't. Marianne and I, we're there. We're good. We have a pair. Okay, we have pairs. Okay, now I want you to stand up and just kind of face that person who you've paired with. Okay, just face them. And I want one of you, are you mine?
She must be yours.
She's mine. Okay. And I want one of you to say, I will be person A.
I will be person A.
Okay, you'll be person A. So in every pair we know who person A is. Is that right? In every pair we know who person A is. Okay. I want, just listen for a minute, don't do anything yet. In a minute, person A will stretch out your hand, and person B will stand just like this. This is person B. This is person B. Person A, stretch out your hand. What does that feel like for person A? You're the one stretching out your hand. What does that feel like? What does that feel like? You're stretching out your hand. What does that feel like? You're not getting a response, are you? It feels like rejection. What else does it feel like? It feels empty. It feels like the person's being rude. What else does it feel like? Rude. What else does it feel like? Okay, thank you for this. Now, person B. What does that feel like? I told you it's
terrible.
Person, it feels terrible.
I want to take their hands.
You want to reach out. What else does it feel like? Person B. Okay, confusion. What else? Person B.
Separation.
Separation. What else?
Chafing.
Chafing. And you can, and after a while you can resist, right? You're like, I gotta reach out. Okay, let's all sit down.
I love that.
No? Okay. Let's all sit down.
My person B said it felt like control.
Okay, person B felt like person A was in control.
No, person B.
Like person B was in control.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? Okay, now think a minute here. Part of what we're getting from Butterworth is the universe is always stretching out its hand. Right? God, the sacred, divine, the universe, whatever language you want to use, is always reaching out its hand. Do we always reach back? We don't, do we? We don't always reach back. So think about that. The universe is always reaching out to you. But what do we have to do? We gotta reach back. We have to stretch out our own hand, or there's nothing to be met. Now I want you to just recall this little exercise as you go through your life this week. Okay? And if you're not reaching out your hand, ask yourself what that feels like. Remember what you heard, even if you were person A, but remember what you heard person B people say today. It felt like rejection. It felt like control. It felt like you were confused. It felt like separation. And that's what we bring on ourselves when we don't reach back. And if you were the person reaching out your hand, you felt like you wanted to connect, right? You wanted to give. You wanted to be in contact. That's what the sacred is doing every minute of every day of our lives. But we got to reach back, okay? So there's our little experiential piece to bring us in to our message. Now, this is the Bible story that Butterworth goes back to. And I put just a little piece of it up here. But I'm actually going to read a little lengthier passage from the Bible because I want you to get the context. Jesus left that place and entered their synagogue. A man was there with a withered hand. And they asked him, is it lawful to cure on the Sabbath? So that they might accuse him. Remember, this is the time when the Romans are trying to find Jesus doing something wrong, right? So it's the Sabbath. And is he going to cure this person on the Sabbath? He said to them, suppose one of you has only one sheep and it falls into a pit on the Sabbath. Will you not lay hold of it and lift it out? How much more valuable is a human being than a sheep? So it is lawful to do good on the Sabbath. Then he said to the man, stretch out your hand. He stretched it out and it was restored as sound as the other. But the Pharisees went out and conspired against him how to destroy him. So there's a couple things going, well, there's more than a couple probably, but a couple things I want to emphasize this morning that are going on here. One is Jesus knew he was being watched. He knew. In the Old Testament it says we're not to do anything on the Sabbath. That's what the Old Testament says. So they're trying to catch him. And they're going, is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath? And Jesus is saying, of course it's lawful. In another passage in the New Testament, Jesus says, Man was not created for the Sabbath, but the Sabbath for man. For us to use that day to enrich and deepen ourselves. So Jesus is saying, yeah, it's okay for me to do this. So the simple act that he reached out, he's taking a risk. He's taking a risk by doing that, but he does it anyway. And we can think of this as a metaphysical perception, a metaphysical interpretation of the universe, of the divine. It doesn't matter. The divine is going to reach out to us anyway, even against odds, even against the odds that we see in the story. On the other hand, Jesus says to the man, what does he say?
Then you said,
Stretch out your hand.
Stretch out your hand. So it was not enough for Jesus to do this, just like in your little pairing. It wasn't enough for person A to do this, unless person B does this. Then we have a connection. So Jesus said, I'm going to go out on a limb here, I'm going to take some responsibility, and I'm going to stretch out my hand. But this is only going to work if you stretch out your hand. Okay, so that's where we are with that. So that's our story we get to bring into this. Now, I want to give you some more Butterworth today. This is a little longer quote, so I'm going to give it to you just a piece at a time. Be sure that you are not simply waiting for the waters to part, okay? And he's going back to the Red Sea example, right? Where they waited for, help me, Moses?
Yes,
Sometimes
Yes.
I'm not a super Bible scholar,
Yes,
so thank you.
Moses.
So that we're not all just waiting in our lives for some Moses to come along and separate the waters and make it all easy for us, right? But Butterworth is saying, be sure you're not simply waiting for the waters to part. You are now a spiritual being. Jump into the stream and know it. Jump into the stream and know that you're a spiritual being. Jump into the stream and know that you can swim. Jump into the stream and know that you have the affirmations, you have the grounding, you have what you need to deal with that stream. Be humbly receptive and responsive to the inner leading that will surely come. And Butterworth also says, stretch forth your hand. I love this line. Be humbly receptive and responsive to the inner leading that will surely come. But we've got to take that step. There's an old saying, I used to have, I had this on my refrigerator for a really long time, and I don't know where I got it. But it went something like, you can only see into the forest as far as you take that step. Right? You can only see in as far as you can see in from where you are. And if you want to see some more of that forest, you got to take another step and another step and see what's there waiting. So this about being receptive and responsive to the inner leading, that's what it's about. But if we just stand still in our lives and don't reach out our hand, what can happen? Not very much. Not very much can happen. We're waiting for God to part the river while God is waiting for us to get our feet wet. Right? So there's another way of thinking about that. Butterworth. Faith cannot be passive, but must be the expression of genuine inner activity. And that's where it starts, right? It's the inner. It's thinking. We talked last week. I believe it was last week. Our thoughts are our life. Our thoughts are our world. It starts with what we think, what we feel, what we know inside. And it's not just our intellectual thoughts, but kind of all that stuff. Our inner being creates our world. So that's where we start. And then I love this t-shirt. Don't go to church, be the church.
Yes.
Right? We see that around some places. Don't go to church. We might say don't just go to church. But be the church. And that's part of the same thing. Here's some more Butterworth. This is all about choice, which has to do that with that reaching out your hand, right? If you're just standing here, that's a choice. If you're doing this, that's another choice. If you choose, you can keep the commandments and act faithfully as a matter of your own choice. Well, actually, this isn't Butterworth. This is Sirach. This is the book of Sirach in the Bible. This was one of the church books that got lost and is only in certain Bibles these days. He has placed before you fire and water. Stretch out your hand, and whichever you choose, for whichever you choose, and whichever one chooses will be given. Whichever you choose will be given. And here, fire and water, just examples of opposites, right? Meaning the fire's there, the water's there, everything in between is there. What are you going to choose? What are you going to pick? What are you going to make a choice for? Yep. So, make your choice. Now, we've talked a little bit about prayer and service, but not a lot. And there's a great chapter in this book, in Butterworth's book about prayer. Praying for a specific outcome we think we want is like trying to put iron filings in a certain order when they are being influenced by a magnet. They must find their own pattern. Okay, so I've got my little magnet picture there. But isn't this, I don't know about you, but I was brought up that in prayer, I asked for something specific, right? I want an A on my test, right? I forgot my homework at home today. Please deliver it to me sometime during the day.
Right. Yes.
So Ed's already told me that one doesn't work.
Better off saying the dog ate.
So we looked at what the alternative prayer might be.
Right.
I am a responsible teenager who brings my homework to school with me. But this whole idea about prayer, and that when we start looking for a specific outcome we want, what are we doing?
We're being a victim.
And I think I saw the word limiting. Yeah, we're limiting. Hey, there's a whole universe of potential outcomes out there. And if I'm saying that's the one I want, I have just eliminated all of those other choices. So when we affirm peace, prosperity, gratitude, we're opening all kinds of doors. We're opening all kinds of doors. One of the examples in one of the books I've read was praying for a certain job. Maybe there's a lot better job out there, right?
Yes.
So I might pray for the right and perfect employment for me. Or I might even pray for the right and perfect path of prosperity for me, right? So you can see the door opens, and the door opens a little bit wider. And we can play with that whole idea about prayer. But that's part of reaching out our hand and being open. And I love the daily word today about being open to vulnerability. Because that's what we're doing. Bless you, bless you, bless you, bless you. That's what we're doing when we stretch out our hand, aren't we? We're being open to vulnerability too. We're saying, there might be something come visit me that I'm really not expecting, and I might not know what to do with it at first. But let me watch, let me listen, let me pay attention, let me be open to the influencing of those pieces in my life. Isn't Butterworth beautiful?
Yes.
He has marvelous metaphors that he brings in to just really help understand the things he talks about. Here's another one. Don't get lost in the mechanics. The miracle is the abundance of God in terms of ideas, in terms of ways where there seems to be no way. That's the miracle. In the abundance of potential, the abundance of the ideas. When an idea comes into your head, it's coming from someplace, right? It's coming from your own still small voice. It's coming from the universe. It's coming from somebody who said, hey, what about this? Because we are all messengers of the divine, right? We are all messengers of the divine. We're going to be having an actual unity, spiritual education and enrichment class here in April and spreading into May. And if somebody wants to take licensed unity teacher credit for that, they can do that. I know Donna plans to take credit. So it's one of the official classes. And one of the books that we're using is called The Soul of Money. And I haven't had a chance to read the whole thing yet. But one of the chapters is about prosperity in community. And how when we come together with others, we have so much of an opportunity to build more than when we isolate ourselves. Person A, person B, right? Reaching out and accepting. So we have that here too, the abundance of ideas. That's the miracle.
Oh,
So cute.
They're going to get that gate open somehow, right? They don't have to jump it, they can get it open. Sam said it's really too bad they had to glue the paws together on the cat. Light streaming through a window will always assume the shape and color of the aperture through which it comes. Here's another metaphor. Think of your camera. Now, most of us don't have this kind of camera anymore. I've got one in my closet somewhere that I had to go like this, right? And physically move the aperture on the camera so they look like this, right? Okay? So light streaming through a window will always assume the shape and color of the aperture through which it comes. So which one do you want? Yeah. Do you want that little tiny aperture down there on the end? No, we want to open it up and bring in as much as we can into our lives and opportunities. This was also fits with that. The wealth of the universe will be yours to the degree that you can see it and see yourself using it. And we've talked about this in service before. The world is what we see. What we see. How do I interpret that? How do I perceive what's out there? What interpretation am I putting on what I see? And Butterworth is saying that again here in another way. And can we see ourselves using it? Sometimes we see some form of abundance or prosperity, but we go, I don't know what to do with that. I don't know where to go with that. Where can we go with that when we don't know? We can go to prayer, right? We can go to meditation. We can take that idea into meditation with us and see what comes. We can talk to that person who helps trigger ideas for us. Maybe we're doing some more reading then. Maybe we're going, this is a great idea. Let me do research on this idea, right? There are places we can go with things to help us see how to use that prosperity in our lives. This is an example for me. Everybody been on an airplane? Okay? Maybe you're sitting next to the window. Maybe you're 1 or 2 seats away from the window. Okay? But you sure would like to see what's out there. Right? And if you're 1 or 2 seats away, that's about what your view looks like. It's a little bitty thing. And you wish you could see those mountains, or you wish you could see that ocean coast, but it's a little bitty view. Okay? So take that metaphor and ask yourself, how can I give myself a bigger view? Because when we expand our view, that's when we come up with ideas about how we can see ourselves using these ideas that are all around us. So, right? Stretch out your hand. Would you rather have that view? And that little bitty view 2 seats away on the airplane? Okay. So this is our message today, right? Stretch out your hand. Get a feeling of what that's like to stretch out your hand and receive what the universe wants to give you.